going on, everybody? My name is Lou Betya. Welcome to another episode of Props to Consider, and then maybe bet Lewis versus Spivac / the road to UFC finals. I got to be honest, I looked at this card on paper, didn't love it at first, not a lot of name value. Once you start digging in, though, looks like there's a lot of good spots, some exciting fighters in this card. Don't want to spoil anything, but very much looking forward to Nakamura. Give an update from last week. I had Aaron the dog on, and we had probably the best week of the prop show ever. I think we hit 5 on the undercard alone. We had Bonfim around 2 KO, bunch of splits. So it's a nice effort. I think my guest is going to try to top that this week. My guest this week, Paulo, a.k.a. Paul Doll MMA, another East Coaster like me, another Jersey guy, and a practicing jiu-jitsu guy, if I'm not mistaken. Paul, how are you doing today, man?
Good, man. Can't complain. Had a nice little dinner. Ready to chop up some fights with you, brother.
So I don't know how many people follow you on Twitter. If you guys haven't, please follow this guy. Not only is he a good prop guy, active with his bets, but always shows stuff from his competitions, which I was, as an old man who is fragile, love seeing that. We met through somebody who I have not seen in forever, and I don't even believe is on the space anymore. That would be Postman Mike. I don't know if you've talked to Mike, if he's ever watched this. I hope you're doing great, Mike. Like, we miss you in the space. Nice guy. But, yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's get this card dissected. If you guys are watching the show for the first time, we go through the craziest props that we have on the board. We don't give fight-by-fight analysis. There's no real rules here. We will end with a Yambag shot, which is a point deduction. And please, if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Paulo, start us off. Whatever order you want to go in, what's your first fight that you like prop on?
All right, sounds good. So I don't have too many crazy ones this week. I mean, It's hard. I know you wouldn't be a fan of that, but I'm going to start with the first fight of the night. And I see a couple people actually post this already, but I'm going to go Tyra by knockout. I think he's just going to be way bigger, way longer, much faster, and way more powerful than Jesus Aguilar. On the feet, I don't think it's really any competition. I mean, he's got like an 8-inch reach advantage on this guy. And the way Aguilar strikes, he just wings hooks and leaves himself way open for counters that I think Tatsuro can easily put him down. And even if they get to the mat, I mean, Jesus just gives up his back real easily. He got flattened out on a contender series quite easily. And if Tatsuro gets him to that position, I could see easily getting a ground and pound TKO positional finish. He was looking for it in his one fight against Candelario. The way he flattened him out, and he almost got it. Candelario is tough, but I think there's just way level skills in this. And I mean, I'm sure that the sub is most likely to come, but I think that plus 600 for the KO is kind of crazy. I played that personally, and I think it's a prop definitely to consider.
So I did more to consider it. I also bet the Tyra KO, and I just want to add to what you said because you made some good points with it. Aguilar's only win condition is like jumping guillotine. Like that seems, and that's what he goes for. He's like a less spinny version of Simon Oliveira. So if Tyra's game plan is just to keep it on the feet to even avoid that, the 2% chance that we think he has to land it, he's got a clear advantage in the striking. And even though his striking is still coming along and he's getting refined as he grows in his career, it's like Bo Nickel in the sense where these guys, even if they don't have the most refined striking, when you're a career wrestler, the grip strength you have, like the strength you have in your hands, you don't have to hit somebody with a perfectly flush shot. It's like getting hit with an anvil. So Aguilar's been rocked, and he got rocked in the contender series. I mean, the dude's been rocked before. I don't like his defense. I know he hasn't finished since his first fight, but Tyra is a special breed, and narrative-wise, you got to think like they want something exciting as a finish to start the card. I agree that the submission's probably going to be there, and his instincts are going to go for it, but I don't know why he can't get a standing KO here and early.
Yeah, I don't see this going too far into the second round. I don't think it touches the third round.
All right, I know we're on different sides of this next. Actually, you know what? Let me do a lower one first because I get your opinion on this. So I got to do one split decision at least every week. I went with the Choi Park split decision at plus 400. This has nothing to do with tape because when I watched tape, I was like, why isn't Park? I get that Park's, the lines come down, he's about minus 190. But with his finishing power, I was wondering why fight doesn't go the distance is plus money. I didn't understand it. And I wonder if they think it's because of Choi's durability, the fact that maybe he'll try to grapple, but his cardio's look good. Just based on the line, it's weird that Choi is the dog, but fight doesn't go as plus money. So I'm wondering if this thing goes distance, do we get a lot of Choi grappling? Does he look good in the third round? Because we haven't seen too much of Park late in fights, so we don't really know what he's going to look like. So I'm taking a poke on the split decision. It's purely a numbers play. It's at 400. It's plus 700 for Park, plus 1100 for Choi. Out of any of the props that I've been betting every week, he seems to be the one that I'm hitting. So, but the eye test tells me otherwise. It's the pure play based on the line. So what do you think about that fight? How do you think it goes down? You give Choi a shot at all here?
Yeah, I do think it's a close fight. I lean the Park side. I do think that he either finishes him early or keeps it enough on the feet to win a decision. I love the split decision. I mean, if Choi can mix in the takedowns, the judges really don't know what they're looking for nowadays. So I can definitely see one judge favoring the grappling to the other judges favoring the Park striking. So I am definitely a fan of that one. I was if the line came down, I was going to bet Park, but at where it is now, I'm passing it from a money line. But from a prop perspective, I think that's the best way to go, honestly, because I don't know, I don't see like a clear finishing equity for Park, and I don't really see what Choi's. I think it's very variable in this fight.
Yeah, greasy decision seems to be his win equity. All right, what do you got next? And then we'll get into the real fun ones.
All right. Well, since you gave out a split prop, I guess I'll have to give out my split prop. I'm going with the Tybora and Blagoy Ivanov split decision. I think this is the perfect split decision. Both constantly in close fights. 3 of their last 4 decisions have gone to a split. And then the one that didn't was the Blagoy and the Lima fight, which I'm shocked that didn't, because I thought Lima won and it was a unanimous the other way.
Oh, he did win.
But
I had a bet on Blagoy in that fight.
Oh, so did I. So did I.
You don't do DFS at all, do you?
No, I don't do that.
He scored, like, seriously, he scored the lowest amount I've ever seen. You get 30 points just to win. He got 64 points, which means he didn't do shit. The only guy I've seen that's done less than that is going to shock you. It was Johan Lioness when he won his decision against
Darian Weeks.
Green. Yeah, he did nothing, and he got like 58 points.
Yep.
Well, I think he got hosed on that one, but go ahead. Sorry, go ahead with Blagoy.
No, you're good. So I just think this is going to be a low volume cage push, 15 minutes back and forth. I do think that Tybora gets the win. I think he is slightly more volume, better cardio, but I do think Ivanov has the better power, the better technical striking, which is why I think this is perfect split decision. If the judges are favoring the volume compared to the power, you never really know which way they're going to favor it. It's plus 400 for the split. Ivanov plus 900 and Tybora plus 800.
Yeah, I just looked it up on DraftKings. Yeah, I mean, I like the spot. I did a show yesterday, and they were trying to sell me on Blagoy KO, which is, and it's more like, it wasn't like Blagoy is such a knockout artist. It's more that they think Tybora is getting old, plotting and slow. I'm with you that I don't think he won last fight. He had a cage grab at the end that didn't get called, which honestly should have been a point. And then then the draws in play, and then like all sorts of weird shit happens. But yeah, I mean, I think it's Tybora early, kind of being in control, because Blagoy is pretty low volume, but his cardio is like strangely okay. Like, he doesn't seem to look any different in the third and first, but it's because he doesn't throw anything. So of course he looks all right. We've seen Tybora start slowing down too. I know, like, I had to play on Tybora with the Romanov fight. I had a split decision there, and I'm sweating my balls off, right? Because the first round he threw no strikes, but also honestly should have ended in a draw, because that was 10-8.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't do nothing, and then Romanov was done. Like, Tybora didn't do much in the third round of that fight, but he didn't have to. He had to land like 6 strikes, and he won the round. So I love that too. It's dicey for a heavyweight fight, but I've already hit it with Tybora once, so I am with you on this. All right, let's get to a fight that I know you and I are on different sides.
Here we go.
Now, I'm not taking a side for the prop, but let's talk about the internet war this week. Drew Casaragi and Jubilee. This is the one I know everybody's on different sides. Everybody's so sure their guy's going to win. I'm not sure. Like, that Jake is going to win. I like him as the side, but the prop that I'm taking is fight to end in round 3. One thing I like about Jake, first of all, he's already coming off a round 3 win. What I like about him is his cardio is pretty good. He's not like overextending, throwing these spinning attacks. Like, yes, he landed like an insane spinning back fist, but he wasn't throwing 20 of them to land one. Like, he just had perfect timing, like a dream shot. He's sloppy. His striking is sloppy. I will say that about Jake. He's kind of all over the place. I compared him last night. I said he's Indonesian Billy Q, where I don't think his technique's great, but if his shit he's throwing in the first round doesn't work, he's like, all right, let's throw crazier shit. And then by the third round, he's like, let me throw everything that I know how to do. And with Jubilee, it's the exact opposite for me. He's really composed. He's technical. He's smart. Yeah, I think his fight IQ is great. What I didn't like about him on tape is he looked tired in the third round, but forgivable with the pace he cooked. But he's going to face a guy now with a higher pace. So for those reasons, I lean Jaka. I could see Jaka getting a late finish, but if Jaka gets tired throwing all these attacks at him the first 2 rounds and Jubilee's all right, he's very live for a third round finish. So I realize Jubilee's never been finished. I kind of hate taking bets like this when a guy has, never proven that he has any like durability issues. But at plus 600, it seems like a good prop. And what I think is going to be like an incredibly weird and fun fight. Like, I'm very much looking forward to that and the Nakamura fight the most.
Yeah, as you know, I'm on the other side of that. I did bet Jubilee, but my prop for this one is contrarian to just about everything else I see. I like Jubilee by KO at plus 420.
He has, I just think, and Jake has been KO'd before, so at least
Yep. I do think that he's going to catch Jack eventually. On the road to the UFC, Jubilee's striking looks super crisp, right down the middle. He doesn't throw anything looping. Jekka to me is just a wild man. He just swings everything into every punch. He loops all his punches. It kind of reminds me of I like the Billy Q reference though, but he reminds me of like a Claudio Ribeiro who just wings everything with full intention to just try and kill you. He does slow down Jekka, but the power still remains. I mean, but to me, he was a massive underdog in his last road to the UFC fight against a striker and a guy who's been knocked out 4 times. He was a massive underdog too. So obviously the books and everyone, obviously they do think he's not that great of a striker. I personally think Jekka's win condition is takedowns. Jubilee has been his takedown. His hips do not look great, but he does seem to have a good get up game. But I think by the end of like second round, third round, I do think that Jekka's going to leave an opening that Jubilee's just going to catch him straight down the middle and just put him down. I put his money line though. I didn't want to get cute with any kind of prop like that, but I didn't pick any kind of round like that. I do think it's later after Jekka his punches do slow down. I think Jubilee cracks him right down the middle. So yeah, I'm on the Jubilee KO side.
I think we're going to see both of these guys again in the UFC after this fight. The Nakamura Kazama fight. I think we're going to see both of those guys.
I agree
as well. It's kind of a shame that those two are fighting because I think that fight's going to be fire.
Yeah.
All right, let me go to this one's going to be controversial. Okay, now I'm only up to plus 1,000 and better. Adam Fugit submission at plus 1,100, and I'm going to have to sell this one. Although I will say that one of the guys I respect the most in the community is John Kelly, and John put his stuff out today about what his props are, and he's on Fugit submission too. So I was like, oh my God, all right, I'm not completely crazy. So Kinoshita is going to be a star. I don't doubt that. He's still really raw. He's still really early in his career. Fugit faced Morales on, I think it was 4 days notice, 3 or 4 days notice, very short notice fight. And there's some parallels to Morales and Kinoshita, I think. Long rangy strikers, they're both young, they're still growing. The big difference, other than the short notice, was Morales, I'm going to say allegedly, because we still haven't seen it at the UFC level or the Contender Series level, allegedly has incredibly good wrestling, especially defensive wrestling. This is what everybody in his camp tells him. So maybe Fugit just didn't, and on the short notice, maybe doesn't want to spend a lot of cardio. But I think that's going to have to be the game plan here, because if this is just on the feet the whole time, Kinoshita is going to find the kill shot. There's 2 other things I didn't like about Kinoshita. One I'm going to save for a later part of the show. But the one thing that I noticed in his Contender Series fight is that he looks good. He looks comfortable the first 2-3 minutes in the fight. But this is a guy who, sorry, I'm just pulling this up against Souza. This is a guy like you look at his career and he's kind of used to just getting everything he wants going immediately, like landing punches, getting quick finishes, and being the star of the show. He didn't have it that easy, and you could tell even his body language between the first and second round. He started looking like, what the fuck's going on? Like, why isn't this over? It didn't look like he was handling it versatile. Now, Souza isn't that good. In all fairness, Souza was brought in to showcase Kinoshita. I feel like Fugit's being brought in to showcase Kinoshita too, but I don't think Fugit's terrible. If they fought in a year, I think Kinoshita probably blasts him in like 2 minutes, like once he gets a little more experience. But now would be the time. So I think Fugit's win condition is 1100. I realize he has KOs in his bag, but he really can't afford to like get in that kind of war here. I think his win condition is getting it to the ground and going for submissions. At plus 1100, I think it's worth a shot. And this is a fight where I think more often than not, I'm big on the under here to begin with, mostly because of Kinoshita's win condition. But I think Fugit, getting a sub, and let's see what Kinoshita looks like if he gets taken down in the first. And in the cardio, let's see what his cardio looks like. But not super confident, but at 1100, I like it's a price play.
Yeah, I'm not hating on that at all. I quite like that. His takedown over Morales, Fugit's, was sweet. Like as soon as he got to the over/under position, he went right in for that inside trip. Morales didn't even know it was coming yet. So, Kinoshita, who's probably nowhere near as good of a wrestler as Morales. I mean, if that's hitting Morales, I don't see Kinoshita be able to stop that. And yeah, you don't really know what Kinoshita's ground game is like.
I mean, he has chokes in his history, but he's facing. He's facing guys that are worse than Adam.
Exactly. And Fugit's, I believe, a brown belt. I mean, he's not no fool on the mat. Like he knows what he's doing. So I mean, I kind of agree. I agree with the play. I love that number for it. I am on the Kinoshita side, and I am huge on the under as well. My next prop, though, I'm gonna keep it in the same fight, is Kinoshita round 2 KO at plus 700.
Round 2 pays more than round 1, right?
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard. There's a philosopher in the space that likes to tell people why round 2, because it pays more. So.
No, well, I have a little bit of a reasoning why, not crazy reasoning, but I mean, this kid's got some crazy hands. His combos, his counters, he's super accurate, insane power. It takes him a while, especially if Fugit's got like a 6-inch reach advantage. It's going to take him a while to figure out the range and everything. Same thing with the Enrique or Souza fight. It took him to the third round to finally figure out Souza's punches, and then slept them bad in the third round.
Very badly.
Man, it was crazy. I watched that replay like 30 times when I was doing tape on this. It was just amazing. But Fugit in the Michael Morales fight, he was overextended on every punch that he was trying to get to Morales with. And Morales isn't the kind of striker that's going to make you pay for it. The way his knockouts have been in the UFC is more of both guys coming together and him just getting to the chin first. It's not setting up a counter that once you overextend, he's going to just clip you. And I mean, anyone who's done boxing knows that the punches that you don't see coming are the ones that take your lights out. So Fugit overextending on a punch is going to leave Kinoshita is going to slip one and just come right down the middle. I think it's going to take him till the second round to find the range. And once Fugit's punches start to slow down a little bit, I don't think he's got too bad of cardio issues, but from the first round to the second round, you're definitely going to see a slower pace, a slower striking from Fugit. Just because I do think these two are going to fight at a crazy pace. Fugit pushes an insane pace, and especially if there's grappling, I can see that I can see him slowing down, and I can see Kinoshita just absolutely starching him in the second round. So plus 700. I did play that too on to bet that too. So I did consider it and I did bet it.
For those watching this that play DFS, I feel like this is a must roster, 100%
sure.
fight. And on a card where there's not like a lot of great value underdogs, like this is a card with Mandy Bohm, this is a card with Aguilar. Like Fugit's going to be probably a pretty popular underdog because he has takedown upside. Even if he gets finished and he gets a couple takedowns, like you might get you a couple of points. But All right, I got it. I got my. Here's my last. How many do you have left?
Uh,
You're on mute, sir.
I got 2 and then the yams.
All right, how about you start off? Give me your next
All
one.
right, sounds good. I'm gonna go to Clark by decision.
Oh boy.
Plus 500. I've seen no one else on Twitter on Clark, and it's kind of scaring me a little bit. But to me, this is the first wrestler in the UFC that Jung will be facing. The only time we've seen Jung have to wrestle in the UFC was against William Knight, and after the second round, he was visibly tired, and he was just laying on Knight. Knight was giving not much resistance to any takedown. Every takedown that Jung wanted, he took him down. Obviously, William Knight's explosive on the mat, so he was expending energy trying to hold him down. But it's not like it was overly like multiple scrambles. It was just trying to just lay on top of him, and he was visibly gassed. His corner literally told him, "Go out and get your hands on this guy again." And you can see him walking down, hands down towards him in the third round. If Clark comes out here with a good game plan, like he did versus the Menafield, push him up against the cage, get the muscles flowing, get the juice, get the lactic acid into the muscles. I think that he's going to wear out Jung a little bit, and he's going to try and keep Matt returning him. Jung gets up, Matt returning him. That's a wrestling match that Devin Clark can do all day. To beat Devin Clark, you got to be a top 20, top 15 guy, and you're gonna beat him up. But if you're not top 20 guy, Devin Clark's gonna work you around the mat. Jung is borderline top 20. We don't really know where exactly he is at. I mean, he goes out there and starches Kennedy, but then he should have lost the decision to Sam Alvey. So you really don't know what you're getting out of this guy.
And Jacoby just smoked him.
Exactly.
But Jacoby's going to have a huge advantage. See, I was on Jacoby big because if it's just going to stand, he has a humongous advantage over him. And the Kennedy KO is one of the stranger KOs I've ever seen. Through his arms, up, he's all of a sudden he's dead. And I was on Kennedy in that fight, so that was not.
Yeah, I was on the over in that fight, over 1.5, and that was brutal. But I mean, we saw Kadisi Bergimov hold Daun Jung in his debut up against the cage for extended periods of time. So I mean, if Devin Clark isn't scared and his dad's in his face telling him, "You better get out there, you better get out there," I think that he can. I think that he can win enough minutes to win a decision. Even a split decision might not be too bad in this either.
So I don't have a bet on this fight, and I think. Look, I don't know if I can get to what you're saying, but I'll give a few points here. I think the Jung at this line is unbettable. I think if you're going to play him, you'd play him in the distance at plus 120 because Clark has shown he's taken a lot of damage. He's shown some vulnerability. Also, he's going to be the smaller guy here. Okay, now that all out of the way, Jung hasn't earned my confidence to bet him at a minus 200 or better. And no matter who he's against, unless he was facing Hunsucker and he came down to 205 or whatever, then I'll take, of course. I also worry that Devin Clark can't wrestle for 15 minutes. I wonder about his cardio. I'm not saying he looked tired against Knight because Knight, you talk about Knight against Jung. You offer no resistance to Devin Clark really either. William Knight's a weirdo with that, but I don't know if I just wonder if Clark can do it for a full 15 minutes. But here's what I'm going to say I like about your bet. I don't think Clark wins by finish. I don't know that he has finish equity. Jung getting knocked out by Jacoby. Jacoby is a way better kickboxer than people, I think, give him credit for. And he landed a perfect shot. Devin Clark, unless it's a volume-based KO on the ground, like ground and pound, I do think decision's his path. So you may as well juice that money line up over plus 500 for what his winning condition is. I may take a poke on that. It's not, because I don't really have any bets.
Consider it, my friend. Consider it.
I don't have any bets on the main event, and I don't have any bets on the co-main event because I'm will I be awake? So I'm
I already said it's my buddy's birthday that day, and we're going out to a bar. We're gonna go out, have some fun. So I was just I'm not gonna check Twitter, not check Instagram, not check ESPN. I'm gonna watch it all the next morning. So
I hear you.
Yeah,
this is my plan. I'm a big soccer fan, so my plan is I'm gonna watch soccer in the morning. I'm gonna day drink. I'm gonna pass out, and then wake up in time for the last couple of Bellator fights, right in the UFC.
There you go.
Perfect. I'll get my sleep schedule perfect. All right, I got one left. You got one left. This is my craziest one, and it was almost my first one because I'm this got to be an auto bet for me. I feel like this Park Tallulah fight's a total trap. Like, I know it's a trap. I'm not big on Tallulah. I explained why last night on my buddy's show. I'm not huge on Park, but the one thing I'll say about Park is I feel like I know what I get from him. I know his game plan every time. Like, he's going to do the same shit. Tallulah, he gets killed by Kizriev on short notice, as he should have, but he hung in there for 7 minutes, and then he went out there and killed Jamie Pickett, as he should have. So what more do I know about Tallulah than I did before the UFC? I don't know anything different, and his tape was pretty sloppy before. I don't know what I know about Park, except that he has this rep for being like this crazy durable guy, but he gets hurt. What I like about him, though, is when he gets hurt, like even the Anders fight where he didn't really like get rocked, what I like is he kept it so that Anders had to be against the cage, that he couldn't like wind up and throw bombs. And I think that Park did that to Tallulah here. I know Park's not a big finisher. Like, he subbed Joseph Holmes. Like, again, I'm talking about Tallulah knocking out Jamie Pickett. Like, congratulations. Like, you finished Joseph Holmes. You know who couldn't finish Joseph Holmes? Jamie Pickett couldn't finish Joseph Holmes. So the one thing I'll say about Tallulah is I don't love his cardio. Even I don't think he was slowing down against Pickett, but even on his regionals, like, he doesn't go to the judges a lot. Part of it's because of how he comes out in the first round, and then he kind of gasses. So Park round 3 submission for me, plus 1,600. I mean, the grappling's going to be there for him. So I don't see why he can't snatch up a neck on a very tired Dennis Tallulah. But I'm saying this in advance. I feel like a lot of lines here are insanely trappish. Like, Park at minus 200 is trappish to me, isn't it? And I know people on the Tallulah side where I'm like, I don't know why you're taking him. Like, what about him you like? But I could see why you wouldn't want to get to Park at the price. So, like, if it's a price play, I understand.
Well, Park sub, Park round 3, and Park round 3 sub were all my next ones.
Yes.
So I'm happy we're on the same page there. I took Park inside the distance, and I took Park round 3 on my actual bets. But I agree. I don't understand the love for Dennis much here.
Monk, my partner on the Friday show, who's DFS guy, like, it's like his favorite bet of the week. I don't understand it. I'm like, I guess I'll find out tomorrow when we do the show. But like, I don't understand. He's like so big on him that it's crazy to me.
I feel like if you're gonna take him, it's got to be like a round 1 KO or round 2 KO. I don't see any other win condition.
He doesn't have decision equity.
Nothing.
I don't believe.
No. I mean, I agree with everything you said. His cardio is super questionable. I mean, both times that he's had to wrestle into later rounds, he's got submitted. I mean, Kizriev obviously was short notice, and he's just got his sub defense is like non-existent. The way he literally, Kizriev took his back and he on all fours crawled towards the cage and just let Kizriev just fish in a submission, like not even worried about it until it was already locked in that he wanted to start like fighting with it.
Were you on Kizriev round 1 in that one?
No, I don't think I had anything in that fight. I just wanted to watch it. Were you?
I had under 1.5, and it was like getting done. No, it hit.
It hit. It hit.
But it hit with like but it hit with like a minute left, and you were like, "What are you doing, dude?" He was like minus 15. He was. I don't have the number in front of me, but it was more than minus that because that line got like brutally steep. It was like 700. Then like the next hour, it was like 1,200. I was like, "What the fuck is happening here?"
But even in his fight on the regionals with Ikram, who is a monster, but the first 2 rounds he's fighting it, he's doing it. The third round, as soon as the third round comes along, he just lets the submission happen. And Park is a sneaky grappler, and he's got vicious ground and pound. The way he was brutalizing a tired Tafan and Chukwi in the third round of their fight, bloodied him up, cut him all over. This is why I do think if you're going to do it, I would do the round 3 and the round 3 sub, just because I can see a TKO from the bottom or from the top. I do think that he ends up getting the sub. His grappling against Joseph Holmes, who is a nobody, I don't think is anywhere near UFC caliber. His grappling in that looked super nice, Park. So I do think that he's going to end up getting it later in the fight. And I'm a fan of all those plays that you had.
Now, we haven't talked about this fight because I don't know what kind of really good prop you'd have on it, but I am curious what your opinion is on Nakamura, the Nakamura fight, and like what you think. Is this round 1 dominance? Is this like, because he's like Japanese Kurt Angle, man. Like, I'm excited for this dude. Like,
Yeah, no,
What do
he's
you
nasty.
is the result anything else but him just like blasting a hole through him? Or
So I
is
do.
the
I
sub
have.
live? Is the sub live
I.
here or no?
I think any inside the distance for Nakamura is pretty nice. I do
It's
think it's
still
early.
135, I believe. It's I have it right here. It's up to minus 150 on DraftKings inside the distance.
I personally don't. I took the under. Because another sneaky prop is I think Kazama by sub because he's got sneaky grappling.
Yeah. And he'll be throwing them up.
Exactly. I mean, the sweeps that he had in the road to the UFC, his butterfly sweeps were super nice. So I mean, I do think Nakamura blasts him out in round one. I think it's more of a KO. I can see more him breaking him into the second round. More him if it gets later, I can see him just breaking him with his pace and submitting him later. If it's going to be a sub, I do think it'll be later. I don't think he's going to sub Kazama while he's fresh because Kazama is a serious grappler. But I do think that he eventually finishes him. How about you? What do you think? Do you think it's round one?
Yeah, probably. But I mean, it's a shame too because I like Kazama. Like
I do. I think Kazama's not. I think Kazama has a serious future. I think he could.
He'll be back
in the UFC. Yeah,
I think even if he gets crushed in the first round, I think he's one of these guys that he's fun to watch. He's got good energy. I mean, like, you know, and in the weight class especially, like they need more people like at that level. I think he'll be all right. Like I really do. But he's really fun. But Nakamura, man, this guy is like it's funny when you look at the other fights like throughout the UFC. Like you're talking about the Jubilee Jacob fight. You mentioned how Jake is an underdog. Like so he's maybe wasn't the guy they expected in the final. And then Jubilee said what you want about him. He only faced one. He only had one fight.
Yeah.
So I mean, like the other tournament finals are kind of like and then we have like the Choi one where like we're kind of torn on that. But this one's like the one where it's like, okay, this is the final we wanted, and this is the guy we wanted in the final. And I think anybody else but Nakamura, like Kazama, probably be even money or a slight favorite. All right,
sure.
Now we get to the most fun.
One more
go ahead.
For you. I do want to know what's your thoughts on the main event.
I mean. This Lewis is probably cooked. I know he lost weight because he's having health problems. Lewis is probably cooked. I know he's undefeated in the Apex. I know he's undefeated in the short cages. I get it. I also don't like Spivac. I'm not a fan of his style, but he's young. We don't know if he's leveled up. Like the problem I've had with him is some of his performances have been so unimpressive and so uninspired. Like the Olynyk fight, I realized he didn't want to take down Olynyk, but my God, how are you not outstriking him, man? Like how are you barely like? It was a bad look. So I don't know if he was like just too much respect for him or whatever. But look, Spivac should chuck him down repeatedly and get him out of there probably like no later than the third round, probably round 2, round 3. But I just don't trust Spivac. Let's see how drunk I am at 4 a.m. like when this fight starts, let's see where I'm at. See where my bankroll's at. Maybe I'll like fire. I might do like a Lewis KO bet for fun. It's plus 240 last I looked. You know, I don't know, man. It might be a fun live bet ladder where like, that Lewis like is still going to have power late that like maybe live after 2, like Lewis is plus 600 after 3 he's plus 9. Like if I start seeing those numbers and he's still in the fight, I mean, this might be like $5-10, like fun money, like nothing track, nothing, whatever. Be like, and then like you get to the 5th round, you're like, oh shit, if he gets a KO, like all of a sudden I'm up to like $700 I'd win off of like $30. You'd be like, all right, something to root for. But like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, what about you? I just don't like Spivac really from what I've seen.
I feel
no knock on him, by the way. No knock on him getting blasted by Aspinall. Like Aspinall is a special talent. Like I don't look at that when I like evaluate his body of work.
I do think it has to be dog or pass. I think it has to be Lewis or pass here. This is the exact kind of fight that Derek Lewis wins. When everyone's written him off, he takes that step down, and they're saying that he's cooked, he's done, and then this is the fight where he comes out and shows everyone why he's still a top 7 guy, top 10 guy. I do think Spivac should win. He should definitely take him down. He should definitely find a finish. I mean, the only person who's ever really submission grappled Derek Lewis was Daniel Cormier, and he buzzsawed through him. So I do think that if Spivac wants, I don't think he should have really much resistance on the ground. if most people like if you had like Shamil and Marcin Tybora who were taking him down, they weren't looking for subs on those. They were looking more to just control him and just like wear him out.
They were looking not to get hit.
Yeah, I think Spivac, when he's on top of you, he just tries to maul you, which is something I do like about him. But his striking is just. I was watching tape on him a couple days ago. It was the Sakai fight, and him on the feet was just like it was scary. Like he was scared to get hit until he got into the clinch, and then once he gets in the clinch, he knows what he's doing. But if he rushes in and Lewis explodes into him and catches him once, I don't think that. I think he's just going to wince over. I mean, the Walt Harris fight, I know it's years ago, but Walt Harris hit him and he went right down. He didn't offer anything else after that. And it wasn't even like it was just a flat flash knockout. Like he was out, he was wincing and then like falling over. Tom Aspinall hit him, and he backed up against the cage, covered up, and let him finish him.
It's
so
done. Yeah,
I think if he feels Lewis's power and he's like, whoa, I don't like this, I can see him wincing up and Lewis getting another knockout.
Yeah, like I said, I'll wait. You know, I'm not going to do anything at least before the fight start. But as the night goes on, we'll see how it goes. But I'm never betting Spivac. Let's put it that way. I know there's people huge on him this week, man. And there are people huge on him in the distance, and it's like, I mean, all right, man. Like, I mean, and nobody's betting on Spivac because they like Spivac. They're only betting on him because they're fading Lewis. And I really try to avoid bets like that. I don't like to bet negatives because then you're like, because not only are you betting against Lewis, now you're betting on that Spivac has to have a good game plan, that he's going to like just spam takedowns. And like, let's be honest, we don't know that he will. We assume he's going to because we think it's smart. It doesn't mean he will. So he'd be an idiot, and he's an idiot if he doesn't. But
exactly, and this is also a huge step up for him, going from Greg Hardy, Augusto Sakai, Alexei Oleinik to a Derek Lewis. I mean, there's a difference in those kind of guys versus a Derek Lewis. So I do think that this is just. It might be too much too soon, because I do think he will be a top 10, top 8 guy soon. I do think he's still 29. He's like a baby.
I know he's very young, and he's young for heavyweight. He's not just young.
Exactly.
For heavyweight, he's especially a baby.
Exactly. So yeah.
All right, let's get to the fun part. Let's get to why people are really here. Time for the Yambag special. I'll go first just because I'll make mine very quick. I'm on Kinoshita Fugit to have a Yambag special. First of all, we're talking about a guy who's already been disqualified for not stomping somebody's head, but for grabbing the cage while he stomped somebody's head, which is such an absurd reason for the disqualification. Like, him stomping on the dude wasn't enough. He's young. They're both southpaw. So I always like when you see, like, when it's not orthodox versus orthodox, I always look for stuff like that. I usually prefer righty versus lefty because then the stances are open and the balls are wide open for a kickage. But lefty, a little different look for these guys that are used to. Another thing about Kinoshita, if you watch, especially his contender series fight, his fingers were pointed out, as he was keeping distance, looking for the, the kill shot. His fingers were pointed out. If there's takedowns in this fight, cage grabs are available. And that's it. That's the science. And honestly, there's nothing on this card that I liked more for that. But I know that you have a different one. I just do not know what it is yet.
Mm-hmm. For mine, it's the Park and Tallulah fight.
Okay.
The way that Park sells all of his yam shots, all of his eye pokes. I mean, he looks like he gets shot. Like, when he sells it. He really works for that point deduction. I mean, Tafon hit him a couple times and he just like dropped to the ground like he didn't know where he was. And the way that Dennis was ripping body shot, he blasted Jamie Pickett with a yam shot too. And it was a full arena, and it sounded like a gunshot.
Were there two of them, and then one wasn't? Was he faking one? I'm trying to remember. Like, one of the fighters on this card faked a ball shot. It might have been. All I can tell you is I don't stand for fake yambaggery. Never have, never will. Not stand for fake yambag shots.
But
they get me too, I get excited, and then I'm like, God damn, not getting the point.
But so I can see. If Dennis cracks Park with one of those shots that he hit Pickett with, I mean, you're going to see Park's body leave his soul to try and get that point taken away. Dennis has the reach advantage, and the way Park moves forward, I can see an eye poke there, and if Park gets poked in the eye, There was one of his fights where it was just like like a brush along his eye, like with a hand just exposed, and it didn't even look like he got poked. It was just kind of like it brushed against the eye, and he was still working for it. Park's gonna have Tallulah up against the cage, looking for takedowns, trips inside the cage, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, Tallulah did grab the cage one time versus Kizrayev to try and slow it down.
He did it on the fight before too. Before the Kizrayev fight, whatever his last fight on the regionals was, he did as well.
So I can see a point easily being deducted in this fight.
You had me at I have another fight where I have Yambag. All right.
That's great.
So let me just a quick recap. We're both liking the Tyra KO. We both like the Park round 3 sub and round 3 sub props. I'm on Fugit sub. You on the other side with Kinoshita round 2 KO. I have the Choi and Park split decision, and you have the Tybora and Blagoy split decision. And Jacob, we are again dissenting. I have round 3, the fight to end in round 3, and you have Jubilee KO, if I am not mistaken. And then for Yambags, I have the Kinoshita fight, and you have the Dennis Tallulah fight, and you have Devin Clark decision.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and that gets us to the end of the show. I want to thank you so much for sharing time out of your week. I know, again, didn't look like the greatest card, but always value to be made. And for you, it's going to be like the next day. You're going to wake up and be like, okay, I have fights.
Yes, sir.
It's always nice. Please tell the people what you're up to, where they can find you. If you haven't already, guys, please follow him on Twitter. He is a good Twitter follow, and he's sarcastic, understated sarcastic.
Well, I just want to thank you for having me. I haven't been on a show since
Mike.
Since Mike. Last April was the last time I was on, and Lou, of course, was the nice guy to let me on eventually. My Twitter is my handle right there, Paulo_MMA. I post all my bets. I like to have fun on there. It's all for fun for me. I do post my jiu-jitsu competitions. I've been competing for about 2 years now. And I just like to have fun with it. I love interacting with Lou. I love interacting with all the good people on Twitter. Everyone's so great on there, and it's a lot of people that I've become close with over the last 2 years, over the last year of doing it. So Lou, I just want to say thank you again. Anytime you ever need someone to hop on, hit me up.
I will. Trust me. I have a Rolodex of all of you now for like short notice. I'm sure Mushroom was going to hop on if you weren't available. Like, come in.
Oh yeah, he's always ready to go.
Well, he's now the gold standard for the show. Like apparently, like views wise, he's going to be like the gold standard for like anybody to have to beat. But we did great last week with props, and I think we're going to do great this week. And I like that we're like a little different on a couple of these fights because I don't mind throwing 2 darts. Like with the Jubilee one, shit, like you could hit both.
Yeah,
I mean, if you knock them out round 3, you hit both. So,
yeah, for sure.
All right, well, I'm wrapping it up. Thank you again for your time, guys. If you're watching this again, hit the like, subscribe to the MMA Engine channel. It does mean a lot to us. Subscribe to my Twitter at Lou Betya. Subscribe to Paul Dahl's Twitter at PaulDahl_MMA. Good luck on your bet this weekend, and we will see you next week. Where I'm not telling you who my guests are, but I have more than one guest, and it's a panel for the pay-per-view. And one of them might be lucrative MMA. I'm just putting it out. One might be. Take care, guys. Goodbye.